Hello and welcome to the Healthy Education Podcast, coming to you out of health education at the Athens City County Health Department. I'm your host, Ward Bryson, the ComCore member serving with the Health Education Department this year, and I am supported by Logan Lambert behind the scenes, our sound tech, who is a ComCore member serving at Nelsonville York Schools. The goal of this podcast is to sit down and have a conversation with people who are working and serving in Athens County in order to get a better understanding of the contributions that they make to the community and how those contributions bring us towards healthier futures. This podcast is based out of the Health Education Division at Athens City County Health Department, which works to make the health choice the easy choice through policy, system, and environmental changes. Logan and myself are both serving members of ComCore, a local state-national branch of AmeriCorps based out of Ohio University's Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine, which places members throughout Athens County in order to contribute to community health in a variety of ways, many of which we'll examine during this podcast. Today our guest is Jordan Knisley, coming to us out of Sustainable Agriculture at Rural Action. Today we are actually recording in the Rural Action offices in the Plains, Ohio. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, Ward. Glad to be here.
Yep, and we are so glad to have you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself for starters?
All right. Hi, I'm Jordan Knisley, and I'm the Food Access Coordinator with Rural Action.
Okay. Now, that's a good professional title. Just a little bit about the fact that you're a ComCore member, how you found your way here. Usually we like to talk to our guests, just give our listeners an idea of who's really in these positions. You don't have to go on, you don't have to write a book, but what is your relationship to this community? How'd you find your way into your position?
All right. So I actually grew up about an hour west of here in Chillicothe. So I was familiar with the Athens area my whole life, but I really started to spend a lot of time here as a college student. I came to OU to study first plant biology and then switched over to environmental studies. And once I was about ready to graduate, I realized that I wanted to stick around here a little longer. So I started looking around for employment opportunities in the area, and a professor recommended AmeriCorps to me. And I learned about ComCore through an AmeriCorps discussion panel in AmeriCorps Week, and just kind of went from there.
Okay, great. So you actually have an academic background in really kind of the work that you're doing, or the service, that you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about Rural Action on a grander scale than your team in your office. What is Rural Action for our listeners that don't know?
Okay, so Rural Action is a membership-based nonprofit organization which seeks to bolster the economy of the region of Appalachian, Ohio in economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable ways through an asset-based community development strategy. Okay.
That's a very concrete and very specific mission statement. I appreciate that. Not everyone has that kind of clear idea of what they're doing.
We actually coach us on this, coach our members on this.
Well, that's important. It's important to have that branding square, even down to the AmeriCorps members, and for you all to have that clear idea of the purpose here. And especially, do you feel like that informs your service while you're here?
I think it absolutely does, because we're always coming at things from that asset-based community development standpoint. So everything that we do here at Rural Action is kind of like trying to identify strengths of the community and work from there based on what assets we can already identify here.
Yes, I love it. Asset-based community development is such a great tool in especially working in kind of an economic justice standpoint like this. Do you know how long Rural Action's been active in the community?
Yeah, Rural Action was founded in 1991. So they've been around for just over 30 years, longer than any of us have been alive.
That is true. Thank you for pointing that out. It is really great to see an organization be present in our community for so long. And it's not just our community, right? How far afield does Rural Action do work and engage with communities in Ohio?
So we have at least one AmeriCorps member as far west as Adams County, And we have a Northern Counties office in Northeast Ohio as well. And we also do some work in West Virginia on occasion. So really the whole Appalachian, Ohio, West Virginia region is technically within the area we serve.
Wow, that's quite a spread. How many people are behind that? How many personnel would you say that Rural Action has?
I'm not certain, but I know that we have 75-ish AmeriCorps members alone, not even like counting the regular staff.
So there's a pretty big interface with AmeriCorps through different corps. Obviously, you are a ComCorps member, and there's other corps present, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm the only ComCorps member here, but Rural Action has a pretty sizable corps of its own called the Appalachian Ohio Restore Corps, and they work in everything from sustainable agriculture to community resources, watersheds, zero waste, basically anything that Rural Action has their hands in, and that's quite a bit. There's an AmeriCorps member serving there.
Wow. So for our listeners, really, Rural Action is probably the largest organization that we've kind of taken a look at in these podcast episodes thus far. In terms of our local health, like Jordan said, they're impacting all kinds of sustainability initiatives, all kinds of initiatives, really bolstering the economy of the area, like Jordan mentioned in the mission. And all of that really is going to trickle down and affect local health, community health in so many ways. Also, because we are focused on Athens County, we've talked about kind of the wide breadth of Rural Action, but what locations and assets does Rural Action manage in the county, or close enough that it impacts kind of your service?
So here in the Plains, we have our main office, the Cure Center, just up the hill from here. And then Sustainable Agriculture and Community Resources also have our office in the Plains. In Athens, at the Sugar Bush Foundation, we have Sustainable Forestry. Zero Waste is out at the Makerspace, and so is Upcycle Thrift, which is a good example of the
social enterprise.
Yes, a good example of the social enterprises that Rural Action runs. And so is the Chester Hill Produce Auction, where I serve. We also have an office in Trimble, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some places because we're really all over the Athens County and the area surrounding Athens County.
That really, just speaks to the influence. That's quite a lot and very impressive. Let's scale it back now and shift our conversation to sustainable agriculture, the team that you serve in. And one, how big is your team? Who else are you kind of serving with and who works here?
So between the staff and the AmeriCorps members, I think we have around 15 people working with sustainable agriculture and some regular volunteers on top of that. Now, not all of those people are here for the same amount of time by any means. Like you've got people like Tom Redfern, the department's director, that's been here for several years. And then you have people that might only be here for a few months to help support us during the summer when the season's real busy.
And those are AmeriCorps members?
Yes, those are our state national AmeriCorps members.
Okay. What kind of initiatives is your team involved in?
So I think of the Chester Hill Produce Auction as being like the big food hub that our activities are largely centered around. So 2 to 3 days a week we're out at the Chester Hill Produce Auction, and much of what we do comes from the produce that we're able to procure there. So we have a program called Country Fresh Stops, in which we are trying to help give access to fresh fruits and vegetables in areas that are lower access. So your rural areas around Athens County where like the nearest grocery store might be all the way in Athens. We try to identify places like convenience stores, gas stations, etc., where we can provide them with fresh fruits and vegetables from the produce auction so that they can get that out into the community at a reasonable price. We also do a lot of farm-to-school processing, so we'll purchase fruits and vegetables at the auction to be taken to AceNet and processed. Like, they can be frozen or dried for long-term storage, or we might make something fresh, like the salads that the 3-month members just made yesterday. And those go out to schools in the area to help support a healthy diet for local school children. We also do produce prescriptions, where people can receive a prescription from a healthcare provider, such as Hopewell, locally, or Copeland in West Virginia. And basically, the way that works is if a person is identified as being at a high risk for a health complication like diabetes, or maybe high cholesterol or high blood pressure or something like that, then they can receive a prescription for fresh produce that then we supply to them through the auction. And again, I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting, but there's quite a few different programs we're involved in, which, like, the auction is the center point.
Yeah, I really get that. And so in my service, I've really interacted with you at the auction more than probably most anywhere else, unless we're just doing ComCore things together. But you've given us kind of a wide breadth of different initiatives that you serve on. Are these geared more towards like local farmers or with consumers or other demographics? Is it just kind of all over the place? What do you feel is the general vibe, for lack of precise wording?
I'd really say it's both, because we want to get fresh produce out to the people that need it the most. So it is heavily consumer focused in that sense, but at the same time we want to support our local farmers and get them the money that they need to keep doing what they're doing. And we have other programs that aren't necessarily associated with the auction that we use to help support our local farmers as well. For example, we do educational programs like the peer-to-peer mentorship program that we finished up here recently back in March, where beginning farmers can learn from more experienced farmers. And it's not just economically that we try to support them. Like, it's a knowledge transfer as well.
Well, and it's a really interesting example, I think, of service and programming that supports not just the economic viability or the financial viability of these people, but through that supports, one, their interpersonal health and wellness. It gives them kind of a support network, but also then, like when you're doing farm to school, it improves the health of our school children and it provides them fresh fresh produce to eat at school. So I don't know. I just think that's really cool that you all hit every single point in the programs that you're doing. All right. Thank you for speaking towards your service and that kind of experience. We're going to shift again. I am curious because in your role, I feel that we've talked about other ComCore members before, but you really are exposed to other AmeriCorps members and to how that ecosystem exists, especially related to rural action and the numbers of AmeriCorps members associated there. So do you feel that in this kind of dual role of being both a ComCore member and a person with the Rural Action Sustainable Agriculture team, do you feel that being a ComCore member helps inform your service here or vice versa?
I absolutely think it does. And more than just informing my service, there are projects I've taken on that just would not have been possible without the support of ComCore and our AORC AmeriCorps members. So whether they're actually associated with rural action or with sustainable agriculture or not, I've gotten a lot of assistance from other AmeriCorps members on bigger projects like Apple Crunch Day and School Day at the CPA and things like that. And those projects just would not have been possible without that help. And I try to return that as much as possible and help out at other sites when I get the chance.
Okay. Did we talk about School Day at the CPA?
Not yet, I don't think.
Would you like to?
Yeah, absolutely. So School Day at the CPA just wrapped up a couple weeks ago, back in late April. It is a program that we do annually where local school children from Athens and Morgan counties basically take a field trip out to the Chester Hill Produce Auction. And we have stations set up for them to learn things about the local food system and the environment and eating healthy, all sorts of things that Rural Action has a hand in. This year we had a mock auction, which that's actually kind of the center point every year. But they get to learn about how the auction works and like practice bidding at an auction or even being an auctioneer. And some other examples of some stations we ran there were a healthy cooking station with the Live Healthy Appalachia program. Live Healthy Kids, sorry.
Run by Live Healthy Appalachia.
Yeah, run by Live Healthy Appalachia. And let's see, we did a potato planting station, and there was a bug catching station with environmental education where they got to go out and learn about pollinators and catch some for themselves. And even Zero Waste got involved with a recycling and composting demonstration during lunch.
So another example of kind of that holistic, both educational, but also supporting kind of that idea of these kids growing up in this community and understanding the assets this community has and how they can contribute to things like the auction, to things like maintaining zero waste, to just understanding the food cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And after it was all over, we got some really wonderful thank you notes from some of those kids, and it was really one of the more rewarding things that I've gotten to do.
See, that leads into another of my questions. What kind of gives you hope in this service? Is that it, really, that feedback from the kids that you helped at CPA, or are there kind of other more mundane moments that happen in the day-to-day?
So I would say that a lot of the moments that really give me hope do come from working with kids. Whether it was Apple Crunch Day, which I can talk about more as well.
In a moment, yeah.
School Day at the CPA, helping out with Sprouts lessons, with our partners at Community Food Initiatives. Like, there's so many, like, wonderful, kind, intelligent kids in this community, and, like, I could really see some of them growing up to continue the work that we're doing now.
Yeah. So you mentioned Apple Crunch Day, and that was actually an initiative that we kind of helped with a little bit, mostly on flyers and information at Creating Healthy Communities out of the health department. Why don't you tell us about your perspective in that project?
So Apple Crunch Day was something that I kind of launched into from like the week my service started. So it was kind of a whirlwind at first, but basically, Apple Crunch Day is another annual program that Rural Action Sustainable Agriculture is involved in, where we work with a local farmer. Usually it's Wagner's Fruit Farm over in Washington County, to procure local apples and distribute them all around Athens and Morgan counties, so that, in theory at least, every school kid from like K through 12 in all of Athens County and a few schools in Morgan County all get access to a fresh local apple to bite into at lunchtime or during class. And we distribute like educational flyers, and some of the schools get involved with like apple-based activities and education for the day. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Now, jumping back to the kind of AmeriCorps topic point, I am curious, though, how many other AmeriCorps service members do you interface with in a day-to-day And are they all Rural Action members? Are they Vista, State National? I don't know, just on average.
So we have an AmeriCorps member, Melissa, that I frequently work with out at the CPA, and there's a few Vistas here at the office that I see on a regular basis, but we just had our 3-month members start their program last week, so the number has kind of doubled really recently.
Wow. Well, that is actually the end of kind of that overview I wanted to cover with you. I really appreciate you speaking with us today, Jordan.
Oh, no problem. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yep. And I'm excited to see you next year when you are in the same position, going over the same things.
Yeah, I guess 1 year wasn't enough.
Don't sound so sad about it. Come on, you know you love it out here. So anyways, thank you again, Jordan. Thank you to our listeners for tuning into Healthy Education, coming to you from the Athens City County Health Department. Have a good weekend.